Welcome to Season 2, Episode 33 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I'm your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me today, we're just keeping it with the gang. It is Jenelle Wheeler.
Hey, everybody.
And Matthew Aguilar.
What up?
And you don't see him, but Rich is here behind the boards, as always.
We love Richard.
Doing his thing. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today on a variety of good geek-tastic topics. Guys, we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel here of this whole quarantine life. There are things happening. Things are getting back and slowly rolling into production safely. Better be safely, but like we're trying to get up and get going. So things are getting exciting again. We're going to get a little bit of good summer action. Maybe not like we thought, but things are going to be kind of exciting for summer. So we're going to start covering a lot of that. We're going to talk about, is the Snyder Cut finally happening? Look, this has been like an ongoing subplot of this show, but like it may actually be happening. And if not, we have some ideas. So let's go over this. We know now that this summer we're going to be having Umbrella Academy Season 2 on Netflix is coming. We're going to talk about that. There's a new Scream movie. They're bringing it back. Some classic characters. We're going to get excited about that. There's a new Star Wars series rumors. There's a new Star Trek series that's confirmed. Plus, we've got to get into this Rick and Morty infamous Vat of Acid episode, which is like that episode I feel like every season Rick and Morty has. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to do some rants and raves. And that's how we're going to do that because I didn't read my own show notes, so I just messed that up. But like we're going to be talking about all this. We're going to do another segment of rants and raves. You guys are just getting into the show. It's a thing we took from the old podcast, my good old famous podcast that cannot be named for legal reasons, where we get to rant and or rave about things we are enjoying or not enjoying in the entertainment industry, and we share them with you guys. So we got a lot packed into that, including revisiting one of our most controversial grenades on this show ever. This time, Jenelle Wheeler's gonna. I almost called you Wheeler for some reason.
Jenelle.
Yeah, Wheeler. Oh man, that takes me back. We'll have to tell the story about the day you randomly ran into my mom in the grocery store.
Oh,
and
that
I
was
had
amazing.
to try to decipher who she was talking about because my mom takes like pieces of everybody's name and then combines them with other names. And I was like, she was like, do you know a Janae? And she was like, I was like, a Linnell, and I was like, what?
Linnell, I love that.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh my God!
You have to know me.
As long as it's not Jan or Jane, I'm good.
No. My mom like recombines each like set of syllables in your name
It's
into
like
different
that.
names.
It's
And
like
I
that
have,
SNL.
like, yeah.
It's like that SNL skit where it has the translator and like
Yeah.
what celebrity your parents are talking about and which one it actually is.
Yeah, and I was just like, exactly. And I was just like, I had to figure that out. But yeah, so now I've come full circle.
So Jenelle watched the Joker.
Yeah, so I've become the thing I hate but also love. Anyway, this is getting weird. But anyway, Janelle's watched the Joker, so we're going to get back into one of that because that was one of our most controversial topics ever.
Boom.
Yes.
And Matt has put a lot of crazy stuff in here that he's going to rant and rave about. And comic books are back. I told you, we're coming out of this. So comic books are starting to come back, and Matt has the forecast and all that. So let's get started. At the top, Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Like I said, it's been a running theme of the show. We're now like, what? I don't even know how many episodes in are we like all together. I forget what the old numbering was from season 1. So
Well,
I don't even know.
yeah, right. What when we be at 133?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
I think we stopped at 100. So yeah, no, we should have like at this point some sort of like Snyder Cut jingle. It's been part of the show for so long.
I know, Jenelle, you come up with a Snyder Cut jingle for us. Like,
all right, it's a Snyder Cut jingle. We're jangling along and trying to get this song going. Give us the Snyder Cut.
Thank you. That was a good Snyder Cut.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I'll take it. So now that we're back into the right mood for this, yes, let's talk Snyder Cut again, people. So we've been waiting for this. We've been doing like a year or so of this blipping up every time. Is it coming? Is it coming? We've all had our theories. We've all had ways it could happen. HBO Max, and we've even pitched like make a documentary out of it. But it seems that this could be happening. We had Heroic Hollywood reporting that Zack Snyder actually showed a cut of it to Warner Brothers executives. And it was pleased. And now the question is, why is this happening if it's true? And where could we maybe get the Snyder Cut? So I kind of just been thinking about this and mulling this over. I still think it was just kind of still addressing the question of how do you put this out and make it PR friendly for fans, but also the studio, and do it in a way that's an event, as a content event that benefits you without having to put a bunch of crazy money into finishing a movie that's never going to lead to a trilogy. And so what I kind of was been mulling over was yesterday, as this was all unfolding, I also had to do an article because Zack Snyder announced that he's doing another watch party, because he did one for Batman and Superman v Superman. And, you know, I think it was still early. People weren't really like necessarily tuning into that, but that turned up a whole kind of crazy treasure trove of content where people were just things he said or revealed or shared and kind of addressed later. Like people, I mean, we were talking about it and reporting on it for a while. So now he's doing one for Man of Steel. And that seems like it's already becoming a much bigger event. Like people, it's catching on, the word's catching on, and like people are knowing now that he's established that he's doing this. And so I thought like maybe this is where this could all be headed. I don't know anything. This is just speculation, but I thought maybe this would be the best way to do it. Like in the end, just do a Justice League Snyder Cut watch party with Snyder himself being the person to kind of like debut, and have it through the studio, like on HBO Max or something like that as an exclusive event, but have him do like a kind of a live watch party type deal. And therefore you don't have to put any more money into finishing this, because it would literally just be him saying like, here, we were going to do like X, Y, and Z, and this would be really cool, which is what people have gotten accustomed to following Zack Snyder doing over like the last year or two anyway. And people like love just to hear this Justice League could have been stuff. And so just have him do it as a watch party event and tell fans about it, and like have it do a thing, because it looks good for him. If it's in conjunction with the studio, it looks good for the studio. It looks like they're playing nice and everybody's cool about it. And like he's like far enough away they can laugh about the whole thing and just talk about it in retrospect without anybody getting their feelings hurt, and fans get the closure that they wanted. And like I said, you don't have to put any more money into like finishing this thing. You just show whatever you have.
It would drive revenue.
Yeah.
Maybe to Vero, because that's his favorite social media platform, and I don't understand at all.
No, nobody does. I think that's like a filmmaker's like thing for some reason.
I asked Matt at the beginning of this. I was like, "Hey, does he have stock in that or something?" Because he's obsessed with Vero.
I think like Mangold's the only other person I think we ever like. James Mangold. I think,
there's like two people, and they release all their stuff on there, and so but I agree though. I think that way, because ultimately I would, and I feel like people who are interested in this kind of thing really want a mix of just like the movie, but they also want to know why certain choices were made. And that's what made that first event where he had it in person and the meet and greet and stuff so popular, was that people like got to go and not just watch the movie with him, but then they got to ask questions in a Q&A, and then they got to like get autographs and stuff. And then people were asking questions while he was signing stuff. And that's how, like, at this point, this thing is so mythical that people want to know how it went down just as much as, well, what's the movie? And I feel like releasing ultimately a commentary track to the full thing would be, something I feel like that's what people really want, is to watch the movie and then hear him over top of it. A party like this, a quarantine watch party type thing, is the next best thing. And you don't have to do a physical release either, so it's even better for the studio, because
if you could figure out how to stream it over HBO Max, like a live like a live streaming event, and just have people do it, like you would just get people to sign up for that thing like crazy.
I would, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if only because that event alone and the possibility of doing stuff like that, like launching it at now, would be like a good way to get ahead. But does Warner Brothers think that far ahead? I don't know.
That's the thing, right? Like that's a great idea. Has the studio have enough forethought to be like, we can totally, I mean, how many times have we seen companies do this free? I mean, Disney Plus did it with the Verizon thing, right? They locked in a bunch of people right off the bat.
Brandon Davis
stuff. Right? Yeah. Like 3 years for him. So like you get all those number boosts at the beginning. It makes a difference because people see the big number. Also, people like me who signed up for Gamefly and then just didn't cancel it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like that happens. So
all
if you just get them in a 7-day trial and check out the Snyder Cut, you're going to get half of those people that do not cancel and they're just gonna be on for another month. Like this really is a no-brainer. I don't know if there is enough distance between when it happened and now for Snyder and Warner Brothers to be in that goody like hug each other's space. I don't know if
super hopeful until I started chatting with you before we hit record. I was like, oh, this is gonna happen. Like this.
I know. I'm sorry.
All signs point to yes. And then I got on here and
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Matt's like, nah, I don't think so. I'm like, oh no. I was really excited
Welcome to the
about
experience. He tries to sell me as that person, but see.
But as I told her,
Occasionally, we all are that person sometimes.
Well, I'm sorry, not Jenelle. As I told Linnell, I am hopeful for it. I want it to happen. I want to see this thing.
Me too.
I just don't know if that's the thing. I don't know. But
all right,
to be proven wrong.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see. We're going to move right along. Snyder Cut, we're going to hope this finally comes to some kind of resolution. 2020 will have accomplished something. All right, moving right along to something that is a little bit more positive. We are looking for what we can be watching this summer, and, the movie slate got wiped out, so the TV slate's kind of hurt, and but there are some things that are coming our way. And there's some things to be excited about, and one of them, and two series that we're really all excited for to return are, of course, Amazon's The Boys, but Netflix's Umbrella Academy, which was a breakout hit. I don't even remember. Was that last year or the year before?
It feels like it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I can't even remember. It was a different world. It was
last year.
I haven't watched it
in the
yet.
pre-virus world. We got Umbrella Academy, and that turned out to be a really kind of entertaining adaptation of the graphic novel. And a really kind of hit for Netflix, and was on this string of hits that Netflix just started dropping. And so we're happy to have that back, and it's coming back July 31st.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to try this out. I mean, I really want to watch the show, and
Wait, you haven't seen the first season?
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
no.
Man.
So I'm so pumped because
have you seen
I
The
actually
Boys?
have. Oh, I've seen The Boys. Yeah.
Okay.
But I am excited to watch this because I am.
Ceiling poster.
I'm running out of things to watch, you guys. So I'm actually pumped that I didn't see this. I'm also really pumped that I didn't see the Joker in the theater because I actually have things to look forward to now.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty nice.
Yeah. So Umbrella Academy is a good time, and definitely check that out. We'll check in. We'll see what you thought when you get a chance to binge that.
I'll probably binge it this week. Yeah,
it's a good show.
Yeah, it's a good show, and
I'm excited.
Like I said, the only thing is to say it's coming back July 31st, and we're happy because we need content. And there was a big big cliffhanger at the end of last season, which I'm trying to remember now, and I'm acting like I remember, but I barely remember.
I kind of feel like I would, because I'm excited. Like I really enjoyed Umbrella Academy, but man, Boys really took the wind out of its sails. Like I feel like Boys came along and just robbed all the conversation of that show.
That's what happened to me. Yeah, because it got lost.
You know what I mean? And they're both great, and they're both. It's not like they're the same premise or anything, but it's just that I just feel like the conversation that was around. There was a buzz around Umbrella Academy. And then Boys just kind of sucked all the air out of the room.
It really did.
And,
Boys is
here's
so
the
good,
deal.
though.
This is how far back you're going to have to remember. When Umbrella Academy came out, it was Umbrella Academy versus Deadly Class.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Umbrella Academy wiped the floor with Deadly Class, and Deadly Class got canceled. And I love Deadly Class, so I was kind of mad about that. I actually enjoyed that show. But and then Umbrella Academy was standing there like the champ, yeah, and then off the top rope with the arm buckle came the Boys out of nowhere, and Umbrella Academy's just been down on the mat ever since, and the Boys are just standing there yeah. So I don't know, man. Nobody saw that coming. It was this whole. I remember all the articles. Oh, and why Deadly Class is better than Umbrella Academy? Umbrella Academy. Why this is better than Deadly Class? And then the Boys came along with that slow burn kind of hype.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, oh, The Boys season 2 is what I need. So I'm not hating though. Umbrella Academy was
Like Anissa watched the thing and saw the thing. I was like, oh, Umbrella Academy's coming. She goes, oh, that's cool. When is Boys coming? And I'm like, well, that's a lot of people are asking.
Oh yeah, they went back in time and they're teenagers now. So this is gonna be a crazy season coming up. And so
yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, should be a good time. But yeah, so it is good that we'll have this and The Boys. Like in this summer in the desert, I need 2 pools of water, so I'll take both.
You
know
need
what I
Too
mean?
Hot to Handle season 2.
Oh God, no.
Don't get me started, baby. Don't get me
No.
started. I had an analogy for that earlier, but I wasn't gonna drop it because I don't want to give like Jenelle too many like stress tremors like about this. All right, let's move right along.
Scream.
Oh yeah, Scream. I had to change Scream.
Oh, I'm really excited about this, which is why I did an ASMR situation just now.
No, I had
very
to
soothing. It's very like relaxing.
soothing. I don't know what you go through. Those creep. That was like you just creeping in the mic.
I don't know, man. This brings back memories from like high school. I'm really
Of
excited about
what?
this.
What kind of memories, Janelle Wheeler? You tell.
Of
Hold on. I have my
Everyone
lemonade.
dressing up as the Scream dude.
Eliminate.
Like, wait, it wasn't. That was middle school for me, but whatever. Everyone was the Scream dude
Yeah,
for
I mean,
Halloween.
yeah.
Everyone.
I had a whole series of those masks. You know. Yes,
Yeah.
we all.
Yeah, they were for Halloween.
Memories. Yeah. Shush.
Other special occasions.
Yeah.
All right, we're
Oh,
gonna when we
God.
get back, we're gonna take a break. But when we get back, we're gonna talk about Scream and what's happening on the Scream front, and possibly a little personal therapy as well. So stay tuned for all of that. All right, so why are we all whispering Scream and yelling about Scream and talking about Scream before that ad break? Because there's a new Scream movie coming, and we knew that. I mean, we had talked about that before, but it's back on our radar this week because they added a very important casting announcement. Drum roll, please. David Arquette is coming back to the Scream franchise as Dewey. And, you know, I've just been listening to a lot of 90s music and stuff lately, and it's just like a little blast of the 90s making me feel good right now.
Yeah.
Since 2000s has been such a suck fest from like 00 to 20.
We gotta like focus on the past,
Yeah,
man.
I gotta go. I'm reverting.
I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure the other day, and it was pure joy. Just
man.
happy.
Some Back to the Future. I'll take some Scream.
Yeah.
So this, this is good. So the group Radio Silence, who made Ready or Not, which is their kind of latest hit, which was a great movie, but they were all in those VHS. There with that whole group of like Death Note guy, Adam Wingard, and that whole kind of school of horror filmmakers. They're going to come back and do the Scream franchise, and they've kind of been teasing that they found a way to crack the nut because, of course, this isn't just a horror movie. Scream was Wes Craven's kind of meta referential commentary on horror movies while still being a slasher film. And that was kind of the whole theme of that whole series, and it was great. And so it's kind of like been a tough nut to crack because it's like, how do you get more meta on something that was already so meta about a genre? Like, how do you make a movie about genre commentary while also commenting on the film franchise that you're still making? Like, it boggles the mind. So, but they seem to
It's
have
not a
cracked this nut.
sequel, right? It's not a sequel. It's a remake. Is that what they're saying? I thought that's what they were claiming. But how are they going to make it a remake
when you
if
have the
he's
same character?
Yeah,
right?
I'm a little. Is that right? Am I correct? Is that what they're saying?
I think it's kind of vague.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought that as well, actually, that it was.
Okay.
It wasn't at first. It was vague. It was not said like, oh, it's a sequel. It was kind of like a reimagining. But yeah, once you get Dewey in here, it's kind of hard. Kind of hard to not acknowledge like what happened. You know.
Yeah. But you could just make. There's a lot of ways that Scream could do that. He could be like, I don't know. There's just it's.
You know, you could
Let's
do it
just
like
say
an
what he
anthology
said.
series and then have him be like the Sid of Final Fantasy. Like there's always a Dewey and he's different every time.
It says basically what they're saying
Down with
now.
that.
What they're saying now is okay. Here's what we have: plot details have not been revealed. It will not be a film completely free of ties to the stories of its Scream predecessors.
Aha! Dear Watson.
So, what they say, the filmmakers say, it's impossible to fully express how much Wes Craven's work in the Scream movies in particular mean to us as fans and have influenced us as storytellers. Kevin Williamson's incredible stories have entertained and inspired us for decades, and we're insanely honored to have the opportunity to be part of the cinematic world they built. And the amazing script does the legacy justice, and while bringing the next chapter of Scream to life. So
Well,
It's
and that's the
another one of these
other.
kind of like honor the past, moving thing forward type deals, which is what like a lot of these kind of things are.
How cool would it be if they
We just
made the
straddle the line
soundtrack
now.
throwback songs, like all 90 songs that were not used on the original soundtrack, like put them on there instead
mean,
of current songs?
I'll take
I
a
would.
90s. I think I made it clear. I will take a 90s throwback
Can they
right about
set
now.
it in the 90s? Like, can we just make it all about I'm not feeling the time we're in right now.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm good with that. And they've tried
I'm
to
Get a
do
totally.
like, I
timepiece.
mean, they've tried to do modern Scream and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, so might as
Well, and
well.
then there was like Scream Queens, which was really good. I thought for the first like.
I
Yeah, no,
thought
that was
Scream
good.
Queens was brilliant. Yeah, they
Yeah.
did a great job.
Yeah,
But
no,
then
that was
at some
good.
point, right, it
Season
becomes
2
like you
got
get
like,
so
yeah,
meta. You get so
Yeah.
meta and you keep going and like everything's
Rick
ironic
and
and then there's
Morty.
no
Yeah,
stakes.
Rick and Morty. So yeah, no, but I agree. So
Foreshadowing.
you gotta really. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do with this rather. All right, so moving along from Scream and David Arquette's coming back. That's the headline. We're excited. We're hearing rumors of a Star Wars TV series for Disney Plus that could be centered around Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano, which is great. I mean, there's not a lot. I mean, if you've been following this, we've already kind of said that we would love to see this. And there's kind of a suggestion it could be the one that we're getting from Leslie Headland, who is going the Russian Doll, Netflix's Russian Doll showrunner, who has been confirmed by Lucasfilm as making a new kind of Star Wars TV show. And Lucasfilm has just said she's making it. When the trades came out and reported before the official announcement, they said it's a female-centric Star Wars show. And of course, the two biggest guesses have been that it would be about Ahsoka Tano or Dr. What's her name? I forgot. Afra. I almost said Asfra, and I was like, that is not right. So
Heard today.
basically, like, yeah. And it looks like this could be actually now more because it's coming from this guy Daniel RPK, who we trust. He's a pretty trusted insider, and this seems to line up and make sense with a lot of things. The character has never been more popular because of Clone Wars in the final season, and kind of really tying off her story and launching her, and her presence throughout the franchise has been this kind of cult hit on the animated side. But now she'll be making the jump to live action in The Mandalorian season 2. And there's this big gap in her storyline between the early days of the Empire before Luke Skywalker and where the Mandalorian picks up after the Empire's fall, that we don't know a lot about Ahsoka in that time period. Because what we last see during Star Wars Rebels is she appears to help the Star Wars Rebels crew, who were an early precursor to the Rebel Alliance, search and solve this mystery with Sith holocrons and fight Darth Maul. And she eventually has to have a duel with Darth Vader, which she almost gets killed in. But Ezra Bridger uses this place beyond between realms, which is like Star Wars is like weird Nexus time hopping dimension. And he pulled her out of the duel and kind of saved her life. And then the series ended with him being stuck in that dimension with Admiral Thrawn, who's another very popular Star Wars villain, and Ahsoka and Sabine Wren. Sabine Wren gave up the Darksaber to Bo-Katan Kryze, who is also going to be in The Mandalorian season 2, played by Katie Sackhoff. And so she gave up the mantle of leadership so she could help Ahsoka go search for Ezra in this weird other dimension. So we have no idea what happens from there. And that's before Luke Skywalker came of age. This is like when Luke Skywalker is a young boy. And we have no idea what happens between then and when an older Ahsoka, presumably played by Rosario Dawson, will show up in The Mandalorian. So there's a whole gap of time for that to play with. So this series would be able to fill that in. And Ahsoka has been kind of now become the custodian of Star Wars and filling in gaps in the storyline and helping with these kind of intercourse stories. Yeah, I mean, no, thank goodness for her, because she's a great character, and the stories they craft around her actually do fill in a lot of important gaps in the storyline. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we could get that filled in. And then so this would line up, and I wouldn't be kind of upset with that happening. I mean, the Dr. Afra thing sounded cool too. I mean, and that sounds like a really cool character. But this is not a bad thing if this is true. And so kind of hoping for that. Anybody else?
Another rumor, or is it? It's not confirmed in any way yet.
No, it's just part of a growing string of rumor that just keeps getting
Okay.
thicker and thicker. Nobody is. I mean, technically,
Pretty much
nobody.
everything Star Wars is that way,
Yeah.
so we're good.
Yeah,
That's
nobody has actually come out and said Rosario Dawson's doing this
Okay.
in The Mandalorian. That's not. She's talked about it and said, like, I hope it comes together, which could be actor speak for, like, yeah, if they get my series together, my contracts right. Like,
Yeah,
I'll be there.
right.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
So, like, yeah, so she has said it. You know, there are talks. She's confirmed are happening, but no, nobody's confirmed that she is Ahsoka. Lucasfilm has never said it. They never announced her for The Mandalorian season 2, and this series has never been confirmed. We just know there is a new TV series coming, and that The Mandalorian season 2 is coming.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, I'm all
Boy.
for Dr. Aphra getting a series at some point.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be this one. And kind of like you said, like all the other things that are kind of out there, it makes a lot of sense for this to be tied to because she's already been confirmed for Mandalorian. You know what I mean? It makes sense to build if you're going to get a star like Rosario Dawson, and Rosario I trust because I love her in pretty much anything. So if you're going to get a star of her caliber to be a character, that character is probably going to have more screen time, even if it's not in Mandalorian season 2, because that's not her show, right? That's based on another lead character. So it would make sense for them to get her own show to build out to give her the time and spotlight that demands. So I mean, it makes total sense. I'm cool with Aphra getting a thing down the line. The good news is, like, she's getting another comic series. There's no shortage of time and stuff for her to get. So that can be, you can play with that later on. But for this, it does make sense. And so I'm cool with either. But I mean, I'm excited.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be either or with the Star
Yeah.
Wars ladies. I want both. So you know, I want both. All right, moving right along from Star Wars. So that's the rumored show. The one that is confirmed is we are getting a Star Trek new series, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I'm actually really excited about this one. I've made no secret that I'm a big fan of the new Star Trek series on the excellent CBS All Access, Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard. I really like Discovery, and I really like Discovery Season 2 in particular, because Discovery is set as a prequel to the original Star Trek series, but it's about a very different experimental ship that was kind of left off the logs of Starfleet that nobody knows about for reasons you find out in the show. But season 2 brought in the original Enterprise, and the precursor to James T. Kirk, and the captain of that ship was Captain Pike. And they cast Anson Mount, who was the star of Inhumans, who played Black Bolt in Inhumans, as Captain Pike. Yeah, as Captain Pike. They put Rebecca Romaine as number 1, who was this kind of character from the original Star Trek series pilot who like got cut out, but then they brought her back for this, and people were like really super happy about it. And oh man, I just blanked on his name. I did some Ethan Peck as this version of Spock that was really super cool, who turned out that the kind of main character, Sonequa Martin Green's character in Discovery, is actually his adopted sister, Spock, and they had this weird relationship, and this version of Spock was very kind of,
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm
pretty
over here Googling. I'm like, okay, I've
yeah,
got
and
it.
it's actually a deep story because Spock's only half Vulcan, and she was like this little black girl who like got adopted by this half Vulcan, half human family when her parents were killed, and so she was raised with Spock. And there's reasons they retcon why you don't know about this in like the original series, but yeah, this version of Spock was like kind of obsessed and more violent, and he's not yet as kind of settled in on his identity. And that was the arc of Discovery Season 2, was how did Spock become Spock and Pike become Pike, and how did that crew on the Enterprise become who we met by the time like James Kirk comes into the picture and all that. And so this series is a spin-off of that, and it follows that crew now that they're established on the Enterprise, and they're into this whole kind of thing. And the Captain Pike they did was great. He's a religious man and still like a scientific guy, and there's a whole arc about that in Discovery. And Anson Mount really just nailed that out of the park and was a fantastic character. And so this, as a kind of old school Star Trek geek, like this is the Star Trek. If you're the person who's been complaining that Discovery's too dark and weird and, you know, cursing and all that stuff. And Picard was depressing in its kind of Logan-ish ways of looking at what became of Jean-Luc Picard in the world, then this is the one for you, because Star Trek Strange New Worlds is exactly what you got into the original series for. It's this kind of Gene Roddenberry thing about optimism and discovery of new worlds and making peace with different worlds. It discusses things like religion versus science and does that very kind of on the nose Star Trek, you know, sci-fi parable type deal. And the character work is excellent by all the actors. They're already established. And the kind of the mythos you can play with from the original series is just vast and rich. And eventually you're going to get to a storyline with Kirk coming into the picture and him and Spock kind of having that conflict, and you get to play with that all over again. So this is exciting, and I'm kind of excited for it because this is the throwback Star Trek series you probably want, with the kind of new age technology behind it. And this is the kind of most classic retro Star Trek vibes you're probably going to get. And so if you need something optimistic right about now, it's a good pick.
If one was to just start getting into like the Trek side of everything, where is a good starting point? Like where can you start off your journey? Like, do you need to watch because my parents used to watch them, but I don't remember the storylines because I was watching these shows as a kid periodically and I wasn't following the storylines. I just kind of cherry picked.
I think like it depends. Like if you're gonna watch Star Trek Discovery, you can just kind of start watching that because it is a prequel and it is before everything else. You just got to know there's a Kirk and a Spock and the basic thing of the Enterprise for that.
The newer movies, the new release movies, which were great in my opinion. But I'd love to expand my knowledge.
Yeah, if you're talking about TV, then like you can start with Discovery and just watch it as its own thing.
Okay.
And then you could like move to something like Strange New Worlds if it's up and running by then. If you're gonna watch something like Picard, I would say you have to. For Picard, you actually have to go back about and watch a lot of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
But I remember him specifically. Like I think that was around the time that I was watching the show. I just didn't watch it in order. It was
for Picard, you'd have to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. Some key arcs at least. You'd have to watch like when Picard became a Borg. You'd have to watch all kinds of key storylines about Commander Data and his evolution.
So cool.
Androids. And if you watched all those, and also some things in Deep Space Nine about the big war between the big Galactic Dominion War and all that stuff and what happened to Romulus, and a couple of the movies. You got to watch First Contact. You got to watch Nemesis especially because that's the last Star Trek Generation movie. And that feeds right into Picard. So you got to watch all those.
I mean, I'm in quarantine, so
yeah. So there
you did say you wanted things to watch.
I do. I'm pumped. I love all the recommendations.
That is to say, Picard takes a little bit more backstory investment for you.
Right. I love that though. Yeah. I love that. I'm a Doctor Who person.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're built for this. You can handle this.
I honestly think too, because you like Doctor Who personally, I think Next Generation is the one you would probably enjoy the most.
Yeah, no, Next Gen is still the classic, and like that's what got me into this because my dad's kind of a sci-fi geek, and around the dinner table it was always on around dinner time, so we watched it, and so those are like burned into my head.
Yeah, like just because of tone, like they're funny, sometimes they're like it handles tone very well. Like it'll go from one episode to like being super dramatic and serious, and then it goes to another one and it's more upbeat, and they balance that throughout the seasons. And Picard is this even keel presence that, you know, like these characters you grow and appreciate. So I mean, personally, if you like Doctor Who, I feel like of course it can get wacky, but it's not as wacky as sometimes Doctor Who can get. But and that, I mean that in a good way, by the way, because I love the look as someone who likes Eccleston.
No space whales.
And
really,
no one, no one likes that Doctor. I love that. Anyway, so not to get off on that tangent.
The best.
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Yes. I'm not as hardcore
I know.
a Doctor Who person as you are.
Yeah, and I always rep Deep Space Nine as one of the best Star Trek.
You guys see my TARDIS back there?
Yeah. And your link shield. We see it all.
Thank you.
Geek.
Thank you.
Deep Space Nine, and I also always recommend that because Deep Space Nine was one of my favorite Star Trek shows of all time and still is for just excellent. And one of the most interesting because it's about a station instead of like a ship, and it's about this cross section station that everybody comes through. And
I'm just excited for, like, as someone who's not the biggest Trekkie, like I'm not the biggest Trek fan. I like the Next Generation. That's really kind of the one I stayed with. I would try Deep Space Nine or Voyager or and what was the one on UPN? Was that Enterprise? Was there just
Enterprise, yeah.
Yeah,
With Scott Bakula.
yeah, right. So I would dabble. I liked the movies. Like the first movie, I thought was really good, the J.J. Abrams movie. But like, the second, not so much. But as a dabbler, I am just really excited for Trek fans because like it feels like it's just this renaissance of great content that is kind of what that community wanted for so long. So I'm just happy for it.
And I like it that it's coming in different flavors, and I like that they're adding specifically this flavor because there has been a very vocal part of the fandom that has said like we feel like we're not getting represented by these new series. They're too dark, they're not as optimistic, all this stuff. And so for all the gritty edgy DC stuff, you need some Superman throwback, and this is their Superman throwback. So all right, well, moving right along. Next, we're gonna get into our deep dive segment, and this week we're gonna do some rants and raves. So everybody's gonna take their rants and raves. I'm gonna talk about that, what's going on in TV, movies, and everything in between. So stay tuned for that. All right, I'm up, and in my rants and raves this week, I wanted to touch on the Rick and Morty Vat of Acid episode. So Rick and Morty always has like one episode a season that ends up being like the talked about episode, and I feel like they know it this time because they just set this one up so perfectly. They just called it the Vat of Acid episode and said it's that episode. The tagline was that episode where Rick and Morty fall into like a vat of acid, or something like that. And basically everybody was wondering, of course, it created instant intrigue, like what the hell is this Vat of Acid episode going to be? And they showed promos, and it showed them jumping in a vat of acid like Joker. And, everybody was like, is this going to be like a DC spook? Like what? Okay, so spoilers for Rick and Morty's Vat of Acid episode. I'm going to say spoilers for Rick and Morty's Vat of Acid episode. So this episode, I will say, because we were hard on Rick and Morty when it came back, they did that meta deconstruction episode, kind of knocking on serialized storylines in the canon. And we're just saying, like, we just need Rick and Morty to kind of be Rick and Morty right now. And this episode is very much Rick and Morty to the core. And the premise of it is, it begins with this gag where Rick wants to swindle these intergalactic criminals by jumping into a vat of fake acid that he's made that has like an oxygen tank in the bottom and bones he releases. And if people stick things in, he shoots it with a laser. And it's this whole intricate plan, but it goes wrong because when they do it and the bones come up, the leader of the gang has this like very unexpected emotional breakdown. He like wants to sit there and talk about what just happened, and all these things go wrong with the plan. And so eventually Morty just gets up and just kills them, and they get out and they're just like, and Morty's just ragging on Rick that this was the stupidest plot device plan like ever. Like, and Rick's trying to say how much of a genius he is. And he's like, I don't believe in you anymore and all this stuff. And he's like, you probably couldn't even, he's like, you're not a genius. You couldn't even invent this idea that I came up with, which is a save point device, which you can save your point in life and then do whatever you want and then revert back to your save point. And so Rick makes it just to spite Morty and say, here, I made this and I can. And so it becomes this sequence of things that Morty does to just test out. Like he sees an old man on the corner in a wheelchair, he pushes him into the street and kills him, and then like reverts back and actually just helps him across the street. And like, and he does every kind of creepy, like creepy, perverted kind of like weird. He does suicide by cop, like all this messed up stuff. This whole montage of stuff he does to use this save point device. And then it goes into this weird segue where he meets this girl and actually falls in love and starts to have this whole relationship in this kind of like up-style montage, which then turns into the movie Alive, because they're on a plane, they crash, and it becomes Alive / The Gray with Liam Neeson, where he goes off to like find help and has to fight off wolves, and he finds a phone, he has to like dial 911 with his bloody like frostbite finger like falling off, and he gets rescued, and they go back, and he goes back to having a happy life with his girl, and like his life is like perfect and everything. But then one day his dad, Jerry, finds a little device and accidentally presses the button and reverts him back to his same point. And like
Oh.
he goes and tries to talk to the girl, and like she doesn't know what he's talking about, of course, and he keeps trying to like do it over and over again, but he can never like rekindle this relationship he had. And so he finally just gives up and like learns this lesson. It comes to Rick and says, I learned like you can't just like get all infinite do-overs. Sometimes life is just like, you know, basically the way it is.
Yeah.
And so then you think like that's it. But then the episode takes this horrible twist where Rick reveals to him that because he kept saying that he doesn't do stupid things like time travel, he said basically if Ant-Man and the Wasp can do it, I won't do it. Like, and so Rick and Morty like refuses to do time travel. So he was like, you know, Morty keeps saying like this was time travel. And he's like, oh no, it's not time travel. And so he reveals to him that he had given him a device that basically works as a prestige device. If you've ever seen the movie The Prestige, that takes him to a dimension where the conditions he wants to try out or the conditions he wants to revert back to, he's actually killing off a Morty in that dimension and taking his place. And so he's murdered like infinite amount of Mortys that Rick shows him. And basically, because Morty comes in, like his whole thing was there's consequences to life and you have to just live with those. You have to live with consequences in life. And so he's like, yeah, this is what you did. You murdered all these Mortys. It's the prestige. Like he shows him all the people he killed, like in the prestige and the versions of himself. And then he shows him, he lets the cops and everybody like find him. And he's like, now you can face the consequences or you can jump in this vat of acid. And so like Morty has to jump in the vat of acid. He makes him kiss the vat of acid, jump in it, and tell him it's like the greatest idea ever. And his whole point is like, never question my genius again. And that's
Oh
like,
my
Wow.
God.
and yeah, and it is so, and I'm a fan of dark comedy, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
And yeah, the point where the twist comes in and he just shows him like, this is the prestige, like you've murdered infinite number of clones of you, or like infinite number of versions of yourself to just do this little thing you were doing. Like it's
That's a
so,
mind blower.
yeah,
But that's
it's
amazing.
so twisted and funny and messed up that it was just perfect. And this one will go down as one of Rick and Morty's funniest episodes, and I loved it. So Rick and Morty is great. Also, Charlie was right. I hate saying things like that, but Charlie was right. If you haven't been watching the Justin Roiland, Rick and Morty creators' other show, Solar Opposites, on Hulu, is hilarious. It's kind of the classic. It is basically what Futurama is to The Simpsons and American Dad is to Family Guy. This is to Rick and Morty. So it is kind of more of a sitcom-y thing with like lessons and stuff like that. It's not as irreverent and stuff, but it's really good. And Charlie's right. There's an entire subplot in the show because these aliens kids just keep shrinking people down and throwing them in this little kind of like diorama wall they've built into their wall, this entire like little ant farm type thing. And there's a whole subplot about the people having this overthrow of society inside the wall, and it is amazing. And so
I need to check that out. That is one actually.
Solar Opposites is actually a really funny show. Also, last but not least, I haven't done it yet. This is a true confession time. Guys, I've never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've never seen it. So, yeah.
I mean, there's perfect time to start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know you're not an anime crowd, but I just like cashed in some of my anime cred. So I've never seen it, and it's on Netflix now. So I'm going to start, and we're going to do this together.
That's awesome.
All right.
Oh, I wonder if I should
Me too.
I wonder if that should be a community thing. Like we all watch it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen bits and pieces. I've never watched all the way through. And I'm the same with Korra. I've watched bits and pieces of Korra, but never watched the whole thing. So I wonder if we should make that a project.
Yeah.
Should.
So I'm gonna get started on
fun.
that. Those are my rants and raves. Janelle's up, and Jenelle took a dip into the world of Joker.
Oh gosh. Okay, so let me first start this off with I watched this movie as a fan of the Joker. He's my favorite villain. I love the Joker portrayed in so many different ways. I'm very I'm not hypercritical on anything Joker because it's just I go in
I love
already
your softball way of saying I rep Jared Leto's Joker.
I love Jared Leto's Joker. The way he looks. Okay. I like to I cosplayed as him. It was the most ballin', super edgy, awesome. I can't curse. I'm trying not to curse right now.
I like super edgy, awesome though.
Super edgy, awesome instead of the, other words. But yeah, anyways, I went in with a really open mind. I think when it came out in theaters, something had happened. Not to dive in too much about personal life, but I lost someone to gun violence, and I just didn't want to go see it in the theater. I wasn't equipped for it. I heard that it was like really heavy with mental health and all, and I just did not feel like I was in a headspace to go see it. So I didn't.
You were not alone. There was a whole segment on this show about female viewers and because I think each of our wives were like, no.
Yep.
I mean, it was really, it's not anything against, it was just the time in my life I wasn't really in the mood. I needed more lighthearted things at the time. So anyways, I'm really glad I got to see it.
And this is not to make fun of your situation, but you chose now, the global pandemic.
Yeah, like, I know.
Let's get into this.
But, well, I did go into it and I was like, all right, I got to watch this early in the evening so that I can go transition to How I Met Your Mother before bed, because I don't want that to be on my mind before. I was really going into it thinking this is going to be terrible. Like, I'm going to like have a really hard time with this movie. And it actually pleasantly surprised me. I loved it. My fiance is obsessed with it. He was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, we need to make sure, like, make sure that he won best lead actor. And I'm Googling and making sure that, awards were given and all of those things. Yeah, we loved it. I loved it. I thought it was a really cool perspective. Again, give me all Joker everything every day, all day long. I love this take on it.
Didn't get the award, were you guys gonna like ride on the Academy?
Yeah, he was about to just like go to LA and just, I don't know, throw some bows. I don't know, but yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. It wasn't as heavy as I thought it was going to be. Yes, it was disturbing, but I watched things like The Walking Dead and high violence movies and TV shows and things like that. So, mental health is a huge topic. I know it's kind of getting, it's time to be spoken about openly. It's getting movies made about it. People are feeling more free to talk about it.
Everybody's going freaking shining in their houses. Now everybody wants to talk about mental health.
But it's good. I feel like it's good for things like this to be addressed finally. And
my mom's a psychiatric nurse, so I'm with you.
Yeah, I never thought about the Joker laugh, right? Like every actor who has played the Joker has their own Joker laugh, right? Yeah. And it's just assumed, like he just laughs. That's just what he does. He laughs all the time. You don't even really think it through, like, where is this coming from? Like, why does he do this? Like, the fact that they just explained that alone in this movie, I was pumped. Like, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to spoil too much.
Well, hey, it's on HBO now.
Like, they're good.
But when he bursts into laughter, he looks like he is in agonizing pain. Like he doesn't want to be laughing, but it says like, he has a card that says, I have brain trauma. I cannot control this laughter that happens sometimes, which is a real thing. Like this is actually a condition. I've seen commercials on TV. Like, do you find yourself laughing here, this medicine can help you. I've seen that on TV. Yeah. So it was just so cool to actually have that explained in a movie about the Joker, something that we take so for granted, which is the laughter, to kind of have that and to see him struggling through that and the awkward positions it puts him in constantly. Oh, dude, I was just eating it up. I loved it. Now it didn't feel, the whole time I was going, all right, when's he going to be Joker? Like, when is he going to stop getting beat up? Like, when is he going to like take on some people and act like the Joker that I love for being kooky and very violent. So that's the only thing that I personally I just wanted to see him rise up eventually. Like I was waiting for his Joker moment. Yeah. And I'm glad they gave it to me. It's just, I'm very eager to see where they go from here because I want to see him being the Joker. A little bit, not just his.
But was he the Joker in the end?
Oh Lord,
was it all in his head? Don't start.
And then
had he
that's
been
the
in the
other
institution
thing.
The whole time?
Okay, so that's my rave. Here's my rant. The podcast of you guys talking about this movie is my rant, because I went in as a fan. I went in
I'm sorry.
not knowing all the drama, like of the director and the statement and what, if you guys can explain that more, your podcast shined a whole different light on the movie for me.
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It was basically the way you said you didn't want to see this movie in theaters.
Yeah.
A million other people sent an entire moms group felt like.
But I wanted to see
an
it, just not in
entire
the
gun
theater.
violence survivors group sent like letters.
Yeah.
There were the feeling you felt resonated with
But I didn't have
millions of other people.
animosity. That's the thing,
But
though.
you,
I had
but you're
no
Janelle Wheeler
qualm.
and you're cool. You're like a unicorn. We've established this. But like other people are not the same way. They're a lot more aggro.
Right, they
So,
took it
like,
personally.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
didn't want this out there. There were people. I mean, South Park even made an episode
remember
called
all
Mexican
this.
Joker, like where the whole premise was the things that people are scared of, they build up to be even worse and cause these things
Right.
that they're so scared of because of their
Yeah.
treatment of because of acting out of fear.
Right.
And so like that was the whole thing. And there was this whole discussion about fear culture and like what were we doing? And
Mhm.
is Joker really going to cause a madman, or is us saying Joker is going to cause a shoot up, going to
Yeah.
cause a shoot up? You
Right.
know, is like in all that stuff. And so Todd, that all came down on Todd Phillips, who is not the diplomatic acrobat of like
No.
public relations and is a kind of
Yeah.
an acerbic dark comedian type. And so you throw that
Which
together,
I get as well. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
with
And-
mass PR, like in
Yeah.
mass press rounds
And that
stuff.
just fueled
and Joaquin
the
Phoenix
fire.
on top of that, like
Mhm.
That just
So,
fuel. Yeah, it was very much a brush fire, and it
Yeah.
kept building state. And it was very much that there was a segment of people that were against it and
Yeah.
rallying. There's another segment of people, and like Kofi mentioned, like our wives and other people that I know were just like, nah, I don't need this in my
Yeah.
life right now. I'm gonna vote with my dollar and not go see it. And that's what they did, right? And they didn't
Right.
like start a petition. All right. They
No,
didn't go
yeah,
out with a
no. I
pitchfork,
mean, I
but they
was
just
still
said, "Nah,
super
I'm good."
excited about it. I was
Yeah.
ready. I'm like, oh, I can't wait until this comes out.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up buying it. Like, I love the Joker. I support anything Joker. I literally bought these headphones because they're Joker green. Like, I love the Joker. But yeah, I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
But I also didn't understand like the whole statement of the director, like saying about the comedy and how like movies are
Oh, okay.
dying.
Because
Yeah,
he
that's a whole other
said-
rabbit
Yeah, that
hole.
was a lot of things, and that feeds into like Kofi's thing of like he didn't handle that very well.
Okay.
To be honest, if he had never just said that, I feel like we wouldn't have like those half of
People
those
just
discussions wouldn't have
pounce
taken
on
place.
it. Yeah.
But it was a stupid statement. Like,
Yeah,
don't
no,
get me
he
wrong.
said a lot of-
It was stupid.
from a PR perspective, he said a lot of like questionably not intelligent things
Yeah.
to say. Not intelligent as in I disagree with his points or I'm judging his mentality, but like you got to know when to hold him and know when to fold him. And like
Yeah.
there was a time to fold him, like when you're doing PR and when you're getting major award circuit and like you're going to that level.
Right?
of
Your movie's
exposure.
making
Yeah.
almost $1 billion at the box office, and you're getting like Oscar
Yeah.
discussions. Hey, take a win. Don't
Yeah.
don't throw
him and
fuel.
Joaquin and Phoenix came out swinging like the whole time, so
Yeah.
it was kind of a crazy ride. But it's good now that
Loved
like you're
the movie.
separated. Now, like my wife is like me again. It's now changed, like you. Like
Right.
my wife now wants to absolutely. So, oh, Joker's on HBO. I absolutely want to see this. Now it's
Absolutely, yeah.
over. There's the theaters are over. Like the awards, it's died down, and they can just sit and
Mhm.
watch it. She wants to check this out. So
I
it's
love
it's
it.
interesting to hear that experience from you.
Yeah, very
All
much.
right. Yeah.
And also, my other rave is Animal Crossing. I always said that I didn't get it. I don't understand. This is like an MMO, but for little kids. And now I'm obsessed and I can't stop playing it. So
You became everything you hate. I know the
I
feeling.
love it. It's the most adorable thing. I can't even tell you how many times I say the word cute while playing. I'm like, cute. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, it's so cute. Look at she's so cute. And I'm like, I gotta stop saying that word. Stop. I was driving myself crazy.
You've fallen for Tom Nook.
It's so good though.
Man, there's
Yeah.
somebody locked up in there with you. Man, that's rough. All right. All right.
No, it's just my whole community of people on Twitch. I'm just like, oh my God. They're like, okay, what's the cute count?
So you shouldn't tell us that because we got editors. We'll make a super cut. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. So Matt, take it away. You're taking out this whole show, buddy. So you got to do it in the allotted time. So
okay. All right. I will run through my rants and raves real quick because Jenelle has WWE Network now, right? You still have it, correct? You still have it?
I'm all about that Undertaker. Yes.
Right. Okay. So my rave
so
is
good.
We've had the chance
I feel like a failed parent.
We've had the chance to review the first couple episodes of Undertaker: The Last Ride, which is a documentary that followed him from over the last few WrestleManias. And for those who don't know The Undertaker, I mean, it's very much like he's always part of the discussions of, you know, do we let a legend be a part-timer and we bring them back for big shows, and does that take away from newer stars? And there's always all this discussion kind of around legends like The Undertaker, and a few are bigger than him. What this really does, and episode 3 comes out this week, is really shine a light on how much pain toll, physical toll, this kind of his career has taken on him. You really get a close eye look of like how much work is put in just to appearing a couple times a year. I mean, you know, at one point you see this guy has had he's had at least 17 surgeries or something, some ridiculous amount. He's had some ridiculous. At one point, he's in getting a.
Sounds like Frankenstein.
He's getting a hip replacement,
like
his second hip. And he's like, the doctor's asking, so have you ever had surgery? And he's laughing to his wife because he's like, well, here we go. So he's like, I've had my fingers here, I've had this done, I've had my, like, his knees, his back, he's had so many surgeries, and, you know, just to keep doing this. And we often look at like these legends come back and it's like, oh, well, they're just here for one show and it's just for the name. But like, to watch him get ready and like the physical toll of doing a surgery, rehabbing, and then getting in shape for the show. And then he takes so much damage in that show. Like it's crazy to see the cycle, and you really get to see the human behind the icon. It's really well done. They're each an hour long, and they take a look at, it's very honest look at the business, as well as his like relationship with his wife, who was also a former star. Very much recommend. The first 2 episodes are on network now. The third one will come out on Sunday. So definitely check out for our review. But yeah, very, very good. There's 5
like a
total.
reality TV show, but real.
Yeah, and it gives you a whole new appreciation. I mean, I've never been the biggest Undertaker fan. I like
He's
the Undertaker,
my favorite.
but I've never been like, yeah, like he's my favorite.
Yeah.
But this whole new appreciation. So definitely worth a shot. Also,
for all wrestlers, honestly.
Absolutely.
Because they're every single one of them are just like, you hear about these young people that are like 28 years old. They've had 2 neck surgeries. I mean, it's crazy.
And this is cool too for people who are fans of the people he's wrestled against, because it's also an honest view of them, because the cameras followed him around all the time. So like Roman Reigns, John Cena, Triple H, the Saudi Arabia one's coming up this episode, and that should be interesting. So, you know, you also see it from his wife's perspective of like, I thought, you know, you were going to retire. I thought you were going to kind of step away. And now that you feel better, you're going to hop in the ring. And what does that mean? Very interesting stuff. So I definitely recommend that. I will also say that I was surprised today when 2K revealed that the Mafia trilogy that's coming, which is a full remaster of the Mafia 1, which that comes in August, and then Mafia 2 is getting a remaster, and Mafia 3 is getting a remaster. Those are out today, which I was like, there's a lot of that today of like, hey, this is out now. And that was just like a regular thing today. So that's cool. So if you're looking for something to play, you can evidently play that now. And then if you go ahead and buy the bundle, you get like all 3 whenever they release. I also wanted to give a quick shout out because this was cool. I don't know if anyone saw on my Twitter, but one of the fans of the show, Elliot Dixon, did an awesome piece of artwork and has my face, and it's cardiac. It's on cardiac, right? Like it's a full like drawing. It looks so dope. It's so cool.
Go look it up.
So it's awesome. I wanted to say thank you. That's such a cool thing. I know Janelle obviously said like Joker would be hers because she's like a big fan of Joker.
Well, are we doing villains or heroes?
Just in general.
Okay.
If you
Got it.
were to have one, I would imagine Joker, right?
Probably.
Kofi,
or Doctor Strange.
Who would yours be?
Who would my what?
If you had to have yourself, like if you're gonna have yourself drawn as a superhero or a villain, who would it be?
Ooh, I'd probably do like a Venom thing.
Be a Venom?
Ooh,
Venom.
Yeah. Just a Venom.
Just asking.
I do something creepy like The Question, just me with no face, no facial features.
I would probably be the Jared Leto Joker just because it's a little sassier. It's a little sassy. I was drawn as like the Heath version, and I just looked like not like myself.
You looked creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked kind of like a man.
Oh man.
But yeah, the sexy
You should
Jared
do like
Leto
a 80s
Joker.
throwback androgynous Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
There you go.
I would, yeah. I mean, there's a million things. I could be on the
Boom.
face of Edward Scissorhands, Doctor Strange. I'd be all over the
Strange would be a
place.
good one too.
No, but I'd probably do Venom. I mean, in classic Palpatine, Sith Lord type stuff is like, that's my
that
favorite.
fits. That
Yeah, I know.
very much fits.
Yeah.
Before I move on to comics, just want to give a quick tease. We're gonna actually have a really cool Power Rangers panel event that we're doing over at Comic Book. So stay tuned for the website for those official details whenever they go live. But that is a pretty cool thing we're working on for the fellow Power Rangers fans. Moving into comics, Marvel released their
rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Marvel released their next schedule of books. You can head to Comicbook.com to check out all the books that are coming over the next 2 months. The big things, though, is that Empire is going weekly once it starts hitting, which will be at the very end of May, which is huge for like a major event. That was going to be their pillar event, and now it's going to pop out every week. I'm very curious to see how that works out. We also have the Return of Marauders. I'm so happy. It's in like just next week is the Return of Marauders. I've missed Marauders so much. And then another thing
needs this
that popped out today in that same thing was Deceased, a new series, Hope at World's End. It fills in some of the time gaps from the spin-off series and the other series. The sequel comes out later this year. So this kind of fills in some time in between, follows some big heroes. The first issue of that is out now. You can literally go read it now. It's a digital first series. So Tom Taylor is working on it. Can't recommend that more. So as far as this week's Wednesday core releases are, we have Ironheart 2020, #1, Deceased Unkillables, #3, The Ludocrats, #1, brand new series. We also have Disaster Inc., a brand new series, #1. Wonder Woman 755. Can't talk today. Hawkeye Freefall, #5. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, #14. And Star Wars Adventures Clone Wars, #1, which does take place in the Clone Wars universe. So I know Kofi will probably dig that. That is your comics.
All right. Thank you, Matt. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for riding with us during these quarantine arcs. We put up new episodes every Wednesday and Friday where you can subscribe to our RSS feed and get new alerts about when new episodes are going up, or you can subscribe on your favorite listening platform. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Google Playlists. You can tell any Amazon Alexa device to fire up Comic Book Nation podcast, and it'll start playing for you. And you can catch our beautiful faces on Comicbook.com YouTube. If you want to talk to us about anything we talked about on the show, you can always find us at the hashtag Comic Book Nation, or you can hit me up at Kofi Outlaw.
You can hit me up at Jenelle Wheeler. Sorry, I was waiting for Matt. I'm also on Twitch if you want to play Animal Crossing together.
Matt's a gentleman. He always goes ladies first.
And you can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
There you go. I feel like there's something else I usually say at the end, but I'm forgetting right now. Oh, yes, we will be back in the studio one day. I'm beginning to drift away from the memory of the studio. It seems like another life ago. But yes, one day after the quarantine arc ends, we will be back in the studio, and we give away T-shirts to anybody whose 5-star iTunes review we read on the show, and we're just piling up more and more of this. We want to make producer Jim Viscardi take on a second job just sending T-shirts. So go on iTunes, leave us 5-star reviews, because when we get back in the studio, we're going to do a crazy rundown of everybody who took some quarantine time to leave us a 5-star and get you guys some T-shirts. So be sure to do that. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. As I said, we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in with us. Be well, stay connected, and see you later. Peace.
Deuces.